This is just something I messed around with one day when it was on the napkin, when I was working, and then it all got mixed up together. And when I used it, I was like, what was that? Hello, my friends, my little YouTube friends. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how to powder puff your face.
Yeah. Yep, that's me.
You're going to get the most flawless complexion ever using my techniques with the powders. So it is not one powder we are using today. It is 4 setting powders for the brightness of your face and 1 loose powder for the contour of your face.
Forever.
So let's get started. It's a little like Facetune, but when a flash goes off in your face looking like this, you're gonna look bright and tight, baby. So let's get into this. So we are gonna use 2 concealers. There is a different way to doing this, which is creams, and I will show you guys maybe in a different tutorial how to use thick creams. But this is what I use. Sometimes on clients I'll use the creams and then this over it, which is just the honey, because it just photographs better. So today I'm going to be using the Tarte. I was about to say Shark Tape. Why am I like this? The Tarte Double Duty Beauty Shape Tape. I'm going to use the tone medium, and then I'm going to lay over the NARS in Honey. The reason why is in certain areas I like to brighten it with a pinker tone. The Tarte Shape Tape is heavy duty coverage, but the NARS Honey, I just like the color of it. And if you don't want to go so crazy, you can just use the NARS concealer. So I'm going to use it on the back of my hand, and I'm just going to grab a synthetic flat concealer brush, pick it up. I am going to just make downward strokes like this, all the way to like where I smile, where my cheek is. I stop right there because I don't want to like pull it down anymore because it just makes your face look longer. You only want your under eye to pop up. And then I like to just like clean up that cat eye a little bit more. So you guys already see the difference. This just looks brighter. I'm going to drag it along my nose. And you don't want to put too much of this. That's why I deposit it on the back of my hand first. And then remember, make the smiley face and stop right there. You don't want to go in too much. And do you guys see? I'm not like going back and forth. I'm just doing downward strokes. Now, the closer you bring it on the sides of the nose, the more pinched your nose will look. I like to go underneath my nose just because this part always gets a little red for me. So I like to make sure there's coverage right there. So anything you want to stand out, you can highlight. I like to make my chin stand out. So I like to do a little V, like downwards triangle right there. Then I'm going to go just down my nose. Now the thinner you make this line down the bridge of the nose, the thinner your nose will appear. It doesn't need to be so harsh right now. With this one, I'm just putting it there for coverage. I'm going to use the NARS to brighten it all up. And then my forehead, I'm just lightly going to use the residue, nothing too crazy. And that's kind of what it looks like before we blend it. You take a damp booty blender, you wait for this to dry up a little bit. Do not start blending when it's wet. Let it get a little tacky. It will give you fuller coverage. Now, I actually don't like placing a clean beauty blender onto this. The first stroke, all it's gonna do is remove the concealer. So taking the back of my hand, I'm dabbing some product on so it pushes in versus lifts off. And notice I'm not like swiping it back and forth. You're just gently tapping it. And don't try to smear the shape that you applied because there is no point to applying the shape. You just like pat it in. See how much brighter my face looks now? Now we're going to grab the NARS Creamy Concealer in the color Honey. Again, you can skip Tarte Shape Tape. I was gonna say Short again. I have issues, man. And just do this one, but I just like the coverage. If you find yourself creasing a lot, definitely skip the Tarte. And if you have more mature skin, I would skip the Tarte too. And just jump to this one. I'm not gonna go fully in the way I did with the Tarte, just applying that much. See how that brightens it up? And then with the NARS, what I like to do is really enhance my Cupid's bow. And then just go into the corner of my lip and clean that up in an upwards way. When you do that, it lifts up your bottom lip. Now I'm going to wait until this dries up a little bit before I start blending it out. Remember, it needs to be tacky. It's kind of like lash glue. You need to let it get tacky before you make sure the application sticks on. Now, a lot of the times I feel like when people blend out their concealer when it's wet, this is what causes most of the creasing. You need to allow it to dry up a little bit before you really insert it into your pores, into everything else, because when you do it when it's super wet and you blend, you don't really get to see what it looks like when it's dried up, and then you just pack on baking powder or whatever afterwards. You need to blend it out when it's tacky to ensure the correct placement and the right blend, honey. When you put it on the back of your hand, it kind of allows the product to get tacky before even applying it to your face. And you blend, 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 and blend, 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 and blend, blend, blend. Now, there are some people that immediately need to put on the powder for it not to begin creasing. I could see maybe like I've met a couple people like that. Most of the time you're just not applying the right product. When you use thicker creams and a thicker, like not as finely milled setting powder, you can't apply it with a brush. You have to apply it with a wet sponge, not even with a powder puff, because the wet sponge breaks apart the powder and makes sure it marries into your skin quite nicely. So if you're using thick powders with a powder puff, that's what's causing all the creasing on your facial. We have this set. Now I'm going to show you how to create my secret powder in my laboratory. Are you guys ready? This is like where I keep my secrets powder. It says Harush's Mix in it. I don't use one setting powder. So the secret is finally out. Everyone always asks me like, what is it that you use? Laura Mercier is too ashy. Like this is too bright. This is too yellow. So I'm gonna show you guys how I actually create this powder. It is 4 different powders mixed into one.
Forever.
And it is the prettiest color ever, and it's not from one brand, it's from 3 different brands. I'm a little extra when it comes to getting things perfect. You don't have to do this, maybe you can use just one of them, but my name is Harush and I'm hella extra. Okay, so this is just something I messed around with one day when it was on the napkin, when I was working, and then it all got mixed up together, and when I used it I was like, what was that? We figured it out. It was 4 different setting powders mixed together. The way it held, the way it photographed was insane. So here I am mixing all the stuff, calling it Harush's Mix, but low-key it's just things you're probably familiar with. We just gotta zhuzh them up together. Actually, I'm gonna do this on a napkin, on a paper towel to show you guys. Raise up your sleeves. You're in Harush's laboratory now. Didi, get out of my laboratory. Do you guys remember that? So I like to pick up on just like a fluffy brush. This is the Morphe M438 brush. I like dab into it, and whatever I picked up, I drop. And this product was the Huda Beauty Blondie setting powder. And then I clean off. Now I have Ben Nye Fair setting powder, the translucent face powder. Again, literally it's just a dollop of this. I'm gonna do 2 of these. The Ben Nye Luxury Banana Powder. I'm sure back in the days, everyone was like so hype over this product. Now I don't need to dip into it, so I'll just sprinkle 3 sprinkles of it. Very light. We're like literally baking. And then we have the Laura Mercier Translucent Powder, darlings. Now a lot of you guys probably use this, and I really do love this product alone. So out of the 3, if I could pick one alone, this could be the loner. I hold it down and I bitch ass. How many taps was that? Probably like 15, 20. So this is what it looks like. And now I'm taking this brush and literally I'm just pretending I'm baking something, like mixing cinnamon, sugar, whatever, all together. If this looks too yellow, you need to add more pink. I don't think I picked up enough on the pink. Now it's easier when you just put it in one of these babies and then you just shake it up. but you do actually need to like beat it up with a brush. It's kind of like whisking eggs. It's the same thing. My formula is complete. I like to keep my Beauty Blender super, super wet until I'm ready to use them. I like them really moist, especially for this part. If you look at it, there's water coming out of it still because it just breaks apart the powder better when it's that wet. I'm just tapping it in there. That's what it looks like. I'm going to press it down. I'm not swiping down, okay? On the sides of my nose. You come down here. And I like to like pull go like that, because I feel like it just opens up the creases underneath the eye. It's like that mascara face that you're making. And I like to go down over here with the baking powder, and basically we're setting everything. But see how I'm not picking up on more in the areas that shouldn't be super light? I'll go over the contour with just the residue. I'm not doing more. See how much softer that side looks now? Again, just with the residue, and see how quickly my concealer ate that powder up. I'm lightly gonna place it here, and I like to put it on the inner part of my brows just because I feel like when you set brows it just makes it look softer versus so harsh, and I feel like I already have very aggressive eyebrows as it is, that I like to soften it up a little bit. If you like the bridge of your nose to have that highlight look, you shouldn't be setting it because it kind of makes it muddy. So pick one or the other. Do you just want it bright, or do you want the highlighted effect? So now I'm going to set the contour with the medium deep translucent setting powder from Laura Mercier. Translucent medium deep, there you go. Now there's two versions of this. There's the shimmery version and there's the matte. I'm going to use the matte because I like everything mattified until I'm finished, and then we'll do another video of how I like to get glowy, hoey skin. I'm going to pick this up with a Surratt brush. When I pick up powders, I like to kind of just beat it into the brush, and we're gonna begin with my forehead. Remember I said pat before you blend, always, to ensure the color is there. Do you guys clock my tapes? And blend it out. I'm not gonna try to go over the tape, and this trick will ensure you that you will not have like a white face. You will have a dimensional face because you just applied 2 tones to your face and set with it and baked with it. See how like it just provides like a pretty color too? Now using that Real Techniques crease brush, I'm going to do down the sides of my nose with the darker setting powder too. Now using the Morphe M38 brush, I'm going to just the point of this, you're supposed to very lightly do it, like super, super light hand. Some people I see, they're like, don't do that, you're f***ing up your skin. Very lightly, you're gonna marry the 2 colors together. I like to push up over here so it goes into the darker area on the nose. Instead of wiping down, that's gonna cause a lot more creasing. This area you can really lightly brush off and pull down. See how put together that side looks? Remember, super light strokes. This circular, I know it shows, I'm gonna show you what I do in the end. Now we are going to take a clean powder puff. I like to use the Inglot one for the under eyes because it's super small and it gets in the corners. I'm gonna press in the bake, super light. This removes all the extra stuff without you swiping it back and forth and creating lines. And it also packs in the makeup. Now, if you want super heavy coverage, you can just directly apply your powder with a powder puff. I mean, the girl loves drag, but she wants it to look natural, you know? And when you set your face with 2 different tones, like the darker and the lighter, you kind of don't need to contour your face again. The color is already there. So now I like to brighten certain areas of my under eye just to make sure I look really, really awake. So I'm going to use the MAC Studio Fix NW22 to brighten up my under eyes. This shade works for me, but it could not work for you. It could be ashy for you. Maybe you need a more orangey undertone versus my skin tone. So make sure you go kind of like color matching, because I feel like on YouTube, a lot of you guys, if I say a color, everybody wants that same color. What works for me might not work for you in toning. I'm going to pick up a Senna brush. It's just a flat foundation brush. Any flat foundation brush will work. I'm going to pick it up, tap it out, and the way I'm going to place it is just patting it on right there. Do you guys see the difference? And remember, up and I'm going to brush this down. Huge difference. If you guys see, I'm only patting in like a little triangle area under my eye. With the same brush, remember how I did the downwards triangle? I'm just going to enhance that. And I'm just gonna pat in the center of my forehead. Also, I'm gonna take a small brush and just enhance the bridge of my nose and my Cupid's bow. It's super substantial right now, so I'll just like pat it in lightly for that to blend into my skin. With the residue of the darker brush, I'm going to go in and just kind of unite those two colors together so I don't see hella lines. Yeah, I'm going over the MAC lighter tone too. So this is what it looks like, all of it blended together. I'm going to put on some bronzer. I'm going to use the Chanel powder brush. If you guys have not used this bronzer, you don't know what you are missing. This is Serge Lutens. The color of this bronzer is insane. It's very lightweight, but the color is very beautiful and iridescent. It doesn't look too heavy and it doesn't make your face look dirty. So I'm gonna pick it up very lightly, swipe back and forth. Like you just have to like use it super lightly. And I like to pinch it towards like the tip of it, and then I'll just go down my nose. Now I'm going to use my favorite blush tone from Tom Ford. It's called Number 3 Flush. It's a pretty coral color and it's very sheer, but it's a bright color as well. I'm going to go in with the Japanesque blush brush. It's my favorite blush brush. Tap it in, tap it out. Let's make this a very awkward face. Like when you see someone you don't like, you're like, that's the blush face. Tap, 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 tap. Darling, I'm blushing. So we have on the bronzer, the blush, and now I'm just going to really fast make sure it gets a little dewy wooey. So the thing about this that sucks is you really have to shake it or it spits like silver shit on your face. And always have one of these ready to go. This is from Patrick Ta. Now we're gonna be fancy, darling. I feel like Marie Antoinette with a motherfucking beat bitch when I do this. So, of course, the bitch spit, no problem. So what I like to do to calm down all this powder and make it look natural in certain areas, we're going to cheat these bitches looking at you. So I'm gonna pick up on Chanel Luminous Foundation, like 1 drop. And 1 drop in, so one is 30N and the other one is 50N. I am picking up with a Makeup Forever blending brush, dabbing both of them on the back of a Makeup Forever metal thing. I know you're probably cringing right now, like why I'm doing this. This foundation works over powder. For some reason, it really does. And I'm just gonna blend in that halo. Do you guys see how like my forehead looks wet and it doesn't look super matte? I'm gonna do that a little bit on the cheeks as well. Mind you, this is a tiny, tiny, tiny bit that I'm doing on the nose to take away that super matte effect. So now I'm going to just brush off the setting powders on my brows. Isn't it nuts that my brow hair just grows like this? I actually really like using the Beauty Blender Glass Glow for my lips. It reminds me of the MAC lip gloss, but like more chill. And it's colorless, so it doesn't like change the color of the lip that you have on. And then this is the best part of this. I like to put a little bit on my fingers. I'm just gonna go down my nose with it. Just a little bit on my cheek. The reason why I'm doing this, it hides the fact that we have so much powder on.